podcast is brought to you by Land Trust Title Services, your partners for results. Hello, this is Steve Kaempf with the People Not Titles podcast, and I'm so glad today to have Alan Stern from Persona Marketing. And Alan, we're going to talk about Alan's story and how he's journeyed from being a very young entrepreneur to very successful in the automotive industry to now being a fantastic resource for the broker, agent community, and probably many more in how to leverage AI and really how to position yourself uniquely in the marketing space and in all marketing efforts. And right now, more than ever, with the market so tight, Alan, we think that it's just so much more important to really brand yourself in a way that you stand out and are distinguishable amongst all the noise out there. So thank you for being here,
I appreciate
Alan.
the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. So Alan, so you started off as a young DJ. I love your story. So talk about where this spirit of creativity came from, and when it began, and let's talk just a little bit about your journey.
For sure. So music's always been in my family blood.
Okay.
So started a DJ company by accident as a teenager, and then I realized something. So I'd worked a few mall jobs over here in Woodfield, and I realized, I could do a week's worth of work at the mall for like $250, or I can get paid to do a block party. In one day, I'm getting paid $250, and I get to eat, I get to jam out, so not a real bad day at the office for me.
Sure.
And then I just kind of fell in love with it, and gradually over the years, upgraded my sound system, upgraded my turntables, and turned it into a full-scale business, actually, in 2013.
Okay, so are you still a DJ right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Wow.
usually do between 5 and 10 gigs a year.
Okay, so what's the biggest gig you did last year?
Biggest gig that I did last year, a 300-person wedding.
Wow.
So it's great. I love it. It's a different part of the brain.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, specifically now, what I focus in on is weddings and corporate events. I just truly feel that's where I add the most value. Mm-hmm. Not to say that I won't do something. I mean, I just did a fashion show about 4 or 5 weeks ago and did a fundraiser on Friday. But for me, I just feel like I add the most values with weddings, and it's just really cool to be a part of the couple's big day.
Awesome, I love it. Okay, so so that entrepreneurial, So I already see that you were weighing time value of money. You were weighing I could spend this much time here and I could spend this much time there. You were also considering what do I really like to do and what are my passions and how do I enjoy myself and not feel like I'm working so much. Where do you think those thoughts? Where did they begin? Was there anyone that in your young life was a mentor, someone that you looked up to, someone that inspired you in that way?
So as far as musicians go, music has always been in the family blood. My Uncle Barry is no longer with us, but, was a DJ. On top of that, an extremely talented drummer. So at a young age, I got a taste of the industry. Before I actually started a DJ company, I was a nightclub promoter. So at a young age, I fell in love with house music. Eventually, what happens is you get this arsenal of music that nobody's ever heard, and you start sharing it with people. The next step is buy a set of turntables, and then poof, by accident, you become a DJ. Because what happens is you have your buddies over and say, hey, check out my new toys. Here's my turntables. Word gets out that you're a DJ, and when you're a high schooler and you always want to get invited to the party, it's a huge shift from being invited to the party to actually being paid to do the party.
Yeah.
And then from there, the next progression was sweet 16s, graduation parties, school dances, and from there, eventually somebody hires you for a wedding, and you just never stop.
So that has given you an edge to perform in front of people, speak to people, read the room and realize no one's on the floor, I got to make some things happen, right? Those are all great kind of instincts to be developing over time. So talk about how you transition from there to get now into the automotive space where you've been for almost 10 years, has it been, Alan?
13.
13 years. Okay, so you've been 13 years in the automotive space. And talk about your journey there from where you began to where you are now, which is really positioning yourself in a unique way.
Yeah, definitely. Automotive industry happened completely by accident. Basically what happened is I was working a handful of mall jobs, and I had one goal in life, and that was to become a big name DJ. Fast forward a little bit, I'm now 21 years old, I've dropped out of college, and I'm living at home rent-free. So my dad has to have a pretty tough conversation with me and say, son, enough of this DJ crap. It's time for you to go and get a real job. Otherwise, you're going to have to find a new place to live. And you know what? Shout out to my dad for doing that. I truly feel the world would be a very different place if that happened more often. So begrudgingly...
So kick the kids out of the basement.
Well,
or at least
or
give
at
them a
least
little poke.
Yeah, or at least have a real conversation and say, hey, here's the clock. Here's what is acceptable, and you know what? For those reasons, it's time for you to just simply level up as a human being. So what basically happened is my dad said, hey, here's what we are going to do. Him and his wife, my stepmom, Tammy, basically said, what we've done, here's the now hiring section for the Sunday paper. We have cut out a few places that might be a good fit for you, and next thing you know, there was a place that stood out that Jennings Chevrolet in Glenview was hiring, and I figured, you know what? I've got some minor sales experience in this point in my life, and I grew up playing Gran Turismo, which is a racing video game, so this should come easy, right? So next thing you know, I interview and miraculously got hired. And I thought it would come easy, but the truth is, I sucked so bad at this job that I was almost shown the door multiple times within the first 6 months. Not for lack of effort, but simply because I never really had the proper training. But I view that truly as a gift because failure is not a bad thing. You get to collect all of this data in the process and figure out, just by trial and error, what works and what doesn't. So what ended up happening next is, after 6 weeks of 6 months of just pretty rough numbers.
Did you make even a sale?
I did,
Okay.
but it got to a point where I was talking to 50, 60 people a month, and my closing ratio was beyond laughable. Just because nobody ever said, hey, listen more than you talk, actually figure out what is important to the clients, and from there, explain the features and the benefits, instead of just vomiting all over everybody with everything. So the GM has to sit down with me and say, you know what, professionally, we're going to give it one more month, and we're going to, if it doesn't work, we're going to professionally part ways. So I did what any other 21-year-old kid would do, and that is spend my time there learning about the most badass car that we have. And in that case, it was the Corvette. So what happened next is I got a powerful lesson on what happens when you start adding massive value to a company. I couldn't sell a Chevy Cruze, but somehow I could sell a Corvette because I became the biggest Corvette nerd in the dealership. So just like that, what ended up happening is I solved a huge problem for the dealership because not everybody knew that car. I now start having hour-plus long conversations with customers who are in for service about Corvettes, and I actually start selling a few of these. The irony here is I couldn't sell a $15,000, $20,000 Chevy Cruze, but somehow I could sell a $70,000, $80,000 Corvette.
So Alan, I want to pause you for a sec. So I hear 2 points in your life as a young person where someone cared enough about you to have a tough conversation. Number one, your dad, and on that day that he had it, you had a choice: run away from the truth, right, or react. And then your manager had that conversation. He saw something in you, right, to say, hey, this kid has something. He has a lot of want to, but I just need to tweak him. And all of a sudden, the light clicked on. And I think that's important for a lot of agents out there who are underperforming. There's a lot of people. I'm sure there were a lot of sales people that were totally kicking your ass, selling way more than you, but you hung in there, and all of a sudden it clicked. So
for sure. And you know what? Here, a valuable lesson here is, in the world of business, people exchange money to solve problems. I was lucky enough to learn that at a young age. A DJ solves the problem of, hey, not everybody has a good sound system, not everybody's comfortable on the mic, and not everybody can create a party. So for those reasons, people exchange money with us. I solved the problem at a young age when it came to Corvettes that there's this super technical car that has a very different customer profile, and there's only 1 or 2 people at the dealership that knew the car inside and out, and just like that, I go from getting ready to get shown the door to now I'm actually training the staff on this car. Now I'm getting the Corvette internet leads because I started adding value to the company. And from there, you know what? From 2011 through 2017, worked at Jennings. Amazing store, still send them a bunch of business. But what happened next is I started actually investing in continuing education. I started investing in mentors, reading books, on sales, on marketing, all of that. And I hired a mentor, his name's also Alan, that when I bought his course, 2016, my numbers were up 30% that year. So
And Alan, was he in the automotive industry?
yeah, automotive
Okay.
trainer.
Okay.
Ironically, I was this guy's first customer, so I believed in this guy in the infancy stage. I became, one of his success stories. So he got hired by the store that I presently work at, and I really was not looking for a reason to change. Be real direct with you, but you know what? Sometimes in life, opportunity finds you. And opportunity did find me, and I took a leap of faith in 2017. I made about as dramatic of a switch as you can make, going from domestic economy cars in Glenview to import luxury cars in the western suburbs. So literally zero in common. But I figured, you know what? An opportunity like this to work for the winning team at the dealership that sells more new Lexuses than any other dealership consistently, that opportunity doesn't get offered to everyone. So I decided to take a leap of faith, basically jump off a cliff and build a parachute on the way down, and reinvented myself. And then learned.
And what year was that?
It was 2017.
So 2017, after making hay, selling in one area, you get a mentor, you start reading some books, and you start to improve yourself. You start leveling up yourself, right? And now you're selling luxury automobiles. So
Correct.
you went from a guy that's on the chopping block to a guy that's on the hiring block.
Simply by resilience and saying, hey, we're going to make ourselves better. It's not a bad thing to get served a slice of humble pie. It's not. Life doesn't a lot of
I
times
agree.
happen to you. It happens for you.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so talk about that journey now. You're 2017. So when does persona marketing start to be born?
18 months ago. So the condensed version of everything is success for me in the car business does not look like spending 60 hours a week at a car dealership trying to convince a stranger to spend tens of thousands of dollars. Success for me in the car business, or just sales at any point, is the ability to work by repeat, referral, and self-generated customers whenever you want. So what that journey for me did in 17 is it gave me an opportunity to reinvent myself. I said, hey, if that's the goal and I eventually want to work by appointment in repeat referral business only, why not get involved in the community? So one of my friends tells me to join this thing called a Chamber of Commerce.
Alan, I just want to stop you there too. So when I think of car sales, never sold a car in my life, I think of I have to work 80 hours a week. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm looking out the window, hoping someone shows up, and I'm going to do this till the day I die. So bravo to you for looking at that going, nope, not me. I'm going to rewrite the script and to rethink it. That's unique. And when I see that and I go, okay, that's a person that you should probably, from the standpoint of your brand and what you do with persona marketing, that's a person that thinks differently than the rest of the herd, and he probably could give valuable insights to other people that are doing the same in sales and help them to rethink their business a little bit. So again, kudos to you.
I appreciate it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm of the belief when the majority of the world says zig, you should zag.
Okay.
If you were to go on Google right now and type in what percentage of people dislike car buying, there's actually a study that came out. 87% of the world dislikes something about buying a car.
And I don't like it either.
It's great, and
Yeah.
I love the fact that the number's that high. But it gives me an opportunity to show you how to be part of that 13% that enjoys it and to deliver an experience that's so smooth you'll actually brag about it, which is the slogan that's on my business card. So I look at it like this. I needed to reinvent myself. One of my mentors and friends says, you should join this thing called a Chamber of Commerce. To which I responded, who is that, a freaking branch of government? What is that actually going to do for me?
Right.
Come to find out, it's a hub of local businesses where you can meet the insurance agent up the block, the realtor that's got the community presence, and the mom and pop business that's right up the road. So I start joining a bunch of different Chamber of Commerces and going to every networking event that I could, and I immediately just felt this connection with the community level because everybody there has the shared struggle of we're all in self-generated roles and we're all trying to figure out how the hell we're going to make it happen. So at that point, I realized I really enjoy working with these kind of people because I understand the pain points and I'm one of them. So what happens next is I realize, you know what? I can either A, go to a networking event and maybe, if I'm lucky, meet 5 to 10 new people, or I can host a networking event at the dealership. So what I decided to start doing is I decided to start hosting these big networking events that started off with 30 to 40 people at the dealership.
And who was on the invite list?
All Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. So
So-
you would host the chamber meetings at your auto
At the dealership, yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
So started doing that with Westmont Chamber, and then I figured, all right, so this was great. I had.
And when did you start that?
17. Was
Okay.
The first year.
Okay.
I'll never forget this guy, Larry Forsberg, and I crack this joke all the time. Executive Director of Westmont Chamber. I asked, hey, what is the most efficient way to get involved in the community? He's like, Alan, you should probably host this year's annual open house. I said, Larry, that sounds great. I have no idea what an open house is. He's like, well, it's kind of like a business after hours. I said, Larry, that also sounds great, but I have no idea what a business after hours is. Can you like draw some stick figures with crayons here for me? He's like, all right, so here's what I'll do. I'll help you put this together. Clear some cars off of the showroom floor. I'll invite the Westmont list. I'll have a restaurant donate some pizzas and some sodas, and we'll make an event out of it. So after the first one, I'm like, this is a great idea. All I have to do is figure out 2-3 raffle prizes, and I have a business card box of everybody who attended. This is great. So I joined 4 or 5 other Chamber of Commerces, and I start repeating the process. And then next thing you know, my events start having between 100 and 150 people at them. Because
a
now
DJ?
And a DJ. The best part about owning a DJ company is you can spice things up because you own all of the sound system.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and to answer your question, when did persona marketing actually get started? When I would go to these networking events and I would see people for a second or a third time, a lot of times they would come up to me and say, hey man, like, we've only met once or twice. I feel like I know you, but we don't really know each other. You've got this like crazy unique marketing style on social media. Could I like take you out for dinner, lunch, buy you a couple beers and pick your brain on this? So that happens once or twice, whatever. It starts happening to the tune of like 40 or 50 times. Eventually, there's an opportunity that's there. So what ended up happening is during COVID, it was...
Hey, thanks for listening to the People Not Titles podcast. We are brought to you by our great sponsors, Land Trust Title Services, your partners for results.
It was a shock for everybody. But I realized there was an opportunity, again, when the world zigs, opportunity to zag. I realized in the height of all of this in 2020, we're in a really dark place where everybody right now is depressed, but they're also glued to their phone and everybody needs a laugh. So on Facebook, there was an ad that popped up for a course called Closer Memes. And that was basically a course on how you can use memes to advertise your business. And I'm like, hey, everybody's glued to their phone right now because Facebook will tell you at all hours of the day how many people are on. And everybody needs a laugh right now. So if I could piggyback off of this, what a great opportunity. So what happens is I start making memes of bad things that happen when you buy a car without calling me first. Similar to the Allstate model where, hey, protect yourself from mayhem by switching to Allstate. I started looking at stock images in memes of bad things that happen, and I would just put a caption over it that says, this is what happens when you buy a car without calling me first. People found it hilarious. And then I realized something. When networking events resumed, I had people coming up to me talking about this, saying, oh man, the one that you posted last week about the guy doing a belly flop into the frozen pool, oh my, this is hilarious. And a light bulb went off. I'm like, wait a second. This is an advertisement that people not only remember, but they will willingly share. And at the end of the day, people don't buy from brands. They buy from people who represent brands. And this is a great way to showcase your personality. So where everything changed for me was about 18 months ago. There's a group called Engaging Speakers, which has a heavy presence in the area, and they actually have a goal to have 150 chapters around around the country.
I think we hosted an event here, like in this building.
You guys are one of the sponsors for
okay,
it,
there you go.
We sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened is opportunity presented itself about a year and a half ago to do a signature talk. The prior chapter director, who was a very good customer of mine, was in for service. We started talking. She's like, hey, if you ever want to do a speaking engagement, let me know. You know what? You experience speaking in front of people because you have the DJ company and you're in sales. So let me know if you ever want to do it. So just to check something off the box, I figured let's commit first, figure the rest out later.
Love it.
So I commit first, and I figure, all right, so what am I actually going to do this on? My background is in car sales and DJing, two completely unrelated fields, but I've needed to master the art of making the phones ring without spending any money. And I've had enough people ask me, hey, how do you do what you do online? So I figured, let's do a talk on how you can become a one-man content machine and do all your marketing, basically for free, so you don't have to hire a company to do it for you. I throw this little mediocre flyer together on Canva. I make a post, basically say, hey, it's a free event. If you're interested, here's what we'll cover. And I had zero expectations. Dude, everything changed when I made that post. Within 3 hours, there's several hundred engagements, and there was close to 70 people that registered just like that. And
Wow.
I'm like, you know what?
That's fantastic.
I'm onto something.
Yeah.
So I did my first one. Again, at this point, persona marketing is not even really in the picture because I didn't really know what I was selling. I simply had a speaking engagement that took off. One led to another, led to another, led to another, and now over the course of 18 months, probably done 50 of these.
Wow. That's okay. So this strikes me, Alan, that you have, as a young person, you've hit several points in your life where you're at a crossroads. You're at Chevy. You probably could still be there, retired there, been to general manager, whatever, but all of a sudden it was this way. Then you had this opportunity to speak. Then you had this opportunity to have this event with the chamber where you're like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to show for this event? So most people would say those all sound scary, and the misnomer is that people who do new things or strive for things don't have fear. Talk about how those moments of trepidation and how you overcame that to continue to move forward, or were there moments of trepidation?
That's a great question too. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, the first wedding that I ever did, I was frightened. Are you kidding me? To be 19 years old and have to announce a bridal party in front of 250 people, I was petrified.
And the one day that these people have, if I blow this, right, I'm on video, I'm on record. Yeah.
Yeah, so my first wedding, I really don't think I did that good of a job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know what? You fail yourself forward, or you just take little by little by little nuggets from this, and this, and eventually you just suck less.
Yeah.
For me, you know what?
You suck less. That's
I
great.
sucked on video 10, 12 years ago. But I got started and I did something that most people just will never do. And eventually I sucked less and less and less. And now every time I do one of these live from the lot videos to showcase a car at the dealership, all of a sudden people say, dude, how do you have the confidence?
You're a natural.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But what they don't see, and I'll actually give anybody a good laugh who wants to go on YouTube and type in Alan Stern Jennings Chevrolet. You will see videos from 12 years ago that were awful, total cringe. But the reality is, most of the time, everything that you want is just right on the other side of fear. It is.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, and so that's just another testimony that anything, for you to accomplish anything, you need to fight through the fear. You need to be bad before you're good, good before you're great. And that's the journey, and you can't bypass the first two steps, which is, like you said, to suck, and then to suck less, and then eventually be really good and master. Like now, you said you've done 70 presentations or whatever, 50 presentations, however many it is. I guarantee you that first persona marketing presentation compared to where you're at now, is you just keep getting better, tweaking it, listening to yourself, whatever it is, right? For
sure. And you know what? I'd be real direct with you. I'm embarrassed even looking at my slide deck for the first one that I did. Even though it was last February, it was on a white background on PowerPoint looking like a damn high schooler made it. It was awful. I looked at this and I'm like, man, I actually gave this presentation. Now, of course, I've leveled up.
Yes.
Everything looks professional, and I've rolled up my sleeves and I've done the work, but you got to get started somewhere. And one thing that I'm very grateful that I've done is document the journey. Because it's one of these things, when it happens fast, and it's very easy to lose sight of the small incremental gains that you make. One of the best things that I've ever learned is if you just focus in on getting that 1% improvement every single day, a year goes by, and you're 3.5 times better than what you originally started at. But, again, focusing on the incremental wins, and over the course of time, amazing things happen.
So, Alan, are you focused solely in the real estate space, or is this just kind of more of a broader reach?
So it's a broader reach. Here's basically the oversimplified version of what persona marketing does. Is I teach salespeople and small business owners do-it-yourself marketing for social media that leverages AI, so that way they don't have to pay a company to make the content for them. Now, my target market, realtors, loan officers, insurance agents, I can assist car salesmen, coaches, stuff like that. But anybody who is an entrepreneur and represents the brand can do that. Because again, people don't buy from brands, they buy from people who represent brands. So the idea is the average person sees somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 advertisements every single day. So you as a salesperson or a business owner, you have a ridiculous amount of noise and clutter that you have to cut through. The good news is you can advertise on social media, but you have to remember why people are on there. People go on social media to be entertained. So if people are wondering what is your customer doing, this is what they're doing. Mindlessly scrolling on social media because people go on these platforms to be entertained. So what happens is if you as a salesperson or a business owner is there to promote, but your audience is there to be entertained, there's a disconnect. But what happens is when you learn to show up in an entertaining way, all of a sudden everything changes because people start looking forward to your advertisements because it's entertaining.
Alan, I love it. A couple things that strike me. One, that you're not just a talker. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that have never sold anything that are talking about it all the time.
Right.
And I love the fact that you've actually applied these things in your own life to be successful in selling a tangible product and a tangible item. And I think that is really, for me, a lifelong person who's pursuing sales. I love to hear stories from people that are doing it. And so bravo. The second thing is, you're not just some guy in your underwear in your basement, doing technology.
Sure.
You're meeting people. You're leveraging that, but then eventually you're seeing the person that buys a car. You're creating these networking events. You're attending the engaging leaders. So talk about the mix. You're showing up at the wedding and giving an experience with real humanity. So there's a mix between leveraging social media and then eventually getting out there and presenting yourself into the public. You're doing a bunch of these talks where you're doing them in front of, I'm sure there's 15 people there, there's 50 people, there's 100 people there, whatever it is. You're like Frank Sinatra, man. You're getting out there and you're singing. So talk just a little bit about that, the importance of not just being social media, but also getting out there and doing it and then, putting the ball over the goal line, so to speak.
Sure, it's all about creating connection. Just going to a networking event is not really going to do that much for you. If you just go there to spam business cards and you interrupt people and say, hey, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card, it's actually counterproductive. So you're there to create connection. I am of the belief that I don't really like selling, I enjoy serving. But when you serve, you are now of service because you're adding value. So here's the way that I see it. What I teach people how to do is meet somebody in person one time at a networking event, add them across social media, and based off of the content that you post, people feel like they know you, like you, trust you, and you become easy to recommend. Now, I even came up with a really cool acronym to make it really easy to remember. It's the HEAT method. HEAT has 4 areas: humor, education, adding value, and trust. Now, what happens is when you mix up all 4 of these, amazing things happen. People go on social media to entertain. So if you can make them laugh, that is entertaining. But the science behind that is 2 things. First off, when you laugh, you also remember what made you laugh. So half of the battle is getting noticed, the other half is getting remembered. But what happens is when people laugh, there's a hormone that's released called oxytocin. That's known as the trust hormone. So what happens is humor speeds up the path to trust. As I mentioned before, it's easy to take a meme or a GIF and turn it into an advertisement that people remember. But you can't just get lost in humor. Otherwise, what ends up happening is people say, hey, are you a comedian or can you actually help me? People exchange money to solve problems, so the next portion is education-based marketing. And if anybody wants to look into humor-based marketing, there's a great book called Humor Seriously that goes way deep in this concept, and it's written by people that are way smarter than me. So the next one is the education-based marketing concept, which I got from a book called Ultimate Sales Machine. Plain and simple, when you sell, you break rapport, but when you educate, you build it. So if the idea is to create trust on social media, what happens is you can take your headshot upload it to a free app called Canva, and now turn it into an infographic that says, hey, if you experience this problem, my business can help you. So now you're able to sell without really appearing salesy. So the humor portion says, hey, this person's cool. I'd actually go and have a beer with this person because I enjoy their company and they make me laugh. But they can actually help me. Just combining those two things right there, you can run circles around your competition. The third is adding value. There's a book called The Go-Giver, which a lot of people have read. If you haven't, I would definitely recommend doing it. But Giver's Gain. And when you become obsessed with adding value, you develop a reputation as somebody who gives more than you take. In other words, people, it's not what you say, it's how they feel when you say it. People feel like you're looking out for them. So when you do that and you create that reputation, a lot of times, it could do all of the selling for you, which then creates trust, and people do business with those who they know, like, and trust. And nobody can sell you better than a satisfied customer. So we all look at reviews. But what happens is most people don't do a good job of repurposing reviews. Canva will allow you to just take a text-only review from like Google, from Yelp, wherever, from LinkedIn. And you can copy and paste it into one of their templates so you now can showcase that across social media. So the short of this is the humor, hey, this guy's cool. Education, hey, this guy can actually help me. Adding value, hey, this person's looking out for me. Trust, hey, other people have trusted this guy to do business. You mix up all four of those, that right there is the recipe for doing it.
So, Alan, and I actually attended what was kind of the impetus behind us having this conversation was I did attend one of your sessions, and we hope to have a follow-up session where we can talk about, I love the piece that you did about leveraging AI and getting to the problem that you're trying to solve. I thought that was really powerful in your session. But some people might be thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to be related to Bill Gates to get this done, or do I need to spend hours in front of my computer? Once you talk a little bit about what it takes to set this up, just from a time standpoint, just briefly, a high level, and then how much do I need to spend on this daily to really be effective once I know what my message that I want to communicate is.
So are we specifically talking about ChatGPT?
Yeah, ChatGPT, and just getting myself kind of leveraging these things, building the HEAT method of persona, because I understand the HEAT method when you're meeting people and you want to be funny maybe, and you want to educate, and you want to add value, you want to establish trust. But how do I create, because we're really talking about is doing some of this online persona.
Yeah.
How do I, how long does it take me to do, can I really do this if I'm not that good at it?
Everything that I go over you can do in 2 minutes or less.
Okay, there you go.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
So this business completely started out of accident, and I realized there's a pain point in the marketplace because if it's not fun, most people aren't going to do it. We're all busy. We all got stuff that's going on. But if you can have fun doing marketing and it's no longer viewed as a daunting task, what ends up happening is you can literally now pour yourself a glass of wine or have a beer, crank out a few memes, and now you got a week's worth of content just like that you've laughed and had fun in the process, and there's no graphic design skills. Now, just to address ChatGPT in the AI world, people always say, this AI stuff, this sounds techie. Do I have to have a degree to learn? If you have done a Google search, at some point in your life, you can use ChatGPT because it's a super basic interface. Now, elementary school definition of what this is, ChatGPT is simply an artificial intelligence tool that helps you write, think, and solve problems faster than ever before. That's it.
Yeah.
So the difference between this and Google is the fact that you can interact or chat with it. You go on Google and type something in, you have your search, you have your results, that's it. But Google doesn't allow you to follow that up. So what I can do, because the audience here is salespeople, everybody knows the importance of identifying a target market, but we've all realized it's a lot easier said than done. So what we can do, if people exchange money to solve problems, is I can now go on ChatGPT and I can say, what are 5 problems that would cause somebody to consider purchasing a new car? It'll spit out a whole bunch of data. Now, you technically could stop there, but the idea is with ChatGPT, we can go 2 or 3 layers deeper, and that's where things start to get really cool. So now I have triggers or problems that cause somebody to want to reach out for a car. But I also have to create urgency. Otherwise, people will naturally drag their feet. So what I can then do is I can follow that up by saying, what are the consequences of not solving each of the problems listed above? So now I know I'm collecting market data. I know if I hear somebody vent about said problem, I could then create urgency by saying, hey, you probably shouldn't wait, otherwise blank could happen. But then what I can do is I can say, who is most likely to experience each of those problems? And now I've identified a target audience. And I look at this and I'm like, man, this right now is free. This is also stuff that companies would pay tens of thousands of dollars to have data companies come in and say, here's your target market, here's problems, here's solutions, here's a way to pinpoint this. ChatGPT has now allowed you, the entrepreneur, the business person, whatever it is, to do this in a matter of 2 minutes or less. I'm mind blown. As a matter of fact, I am genuinely depressed for the people who are not using this right now, because imagine this. Every business right now, every industry across the world has corrected. A lot of crazy stuff that's going on. Costs of everything have gone up. And we're all thinking the same thing. How can we manage expenses and how can we run our business lean? And poof, just like that, we now have an artificial intelligence tool that is the best employee that you don't have to pay for. Imagine having this opportunity where you just now, by learning a little bit about this, can run circles around your competition. Imagine having this opportunity and letting it go to waste. So that is what I show people how to do.
That's awesome. You know, I remember it makes me think back in the day, they used to have these people stand in the mall to try to get data from people.
I used to work for one.
Okay, there you go, right? You're asking this, you're asking that, you may be trying different things. And here now, you have all the data.
Right.
And, you know, how do you leverage it? And then you could use your creativity as a salesperson and all those things. So it's beautiful. Excellent. So, Alan, talk a little bit about the future for you of persona marketing, what the hope is, and then we'll wrap up. But just talk a little bit about that, where you see this thing heading.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking engagements, one-on-one coaching, digital products, and group coaching models. Those are the 4 areas. As of right now, you know what, I am doing speaking engagements, which is how you and I met. My bandwidth is limited right now because I am still selling cars. So as far as the one-on-one aspect, I'm not really pushing that. However, here's what I've done. I'm of the belief that impact is greater than income. And it's not how much money you make, it's how you make your money. So one thing that's worked really well, and I've heard a ton of good feedback on, is my 3-day crash course. So in a group coaching model, basically what I've done is 3 one-hour Zoom calls with a workbook and homework assignments. Day 1, we focus in on AI. I show you how to write the long-form content, collect the data, and actually create a data table that gives you a laser-targeted customer base. That's day 1. Day 2, we have some fun, because if it's not fun, you're not going to do it.
And we're talking about, when you say day 1, is it a whole day?
It's 1 hour.
Oh, okay, 1 hour.
Zoom
You
call.
said that
it.
already. Sorry.
It's
but I get it.
Coaching call.
Yeah. Got it.
And then everybody has access to the replays. Day 2 is the humor-based marketing. So we have fun, but we also learn some basic graphic design skills, because although memes are advertisements, all you're doing is you're sourcing a picture and adding a caption. So you're actually learning some basic graphic design skills by simply just putting text over a picture. We do that on day 2. And day 3, we focus in on the education-based marketing, or specifically the short-form content, the infographic and the testimonial graphics. So the idea is, by the end of that course, you now have the ability to become a one-man content machine and basically do all of your own marketing without having to sub it out. So course is $297. If anybody is interested, just go to allens3daycrashcourse.com for more info.
And are those live courses, Alan?
Yeah, so it's done with you.
Okay.
So it's 3 live Zoom calls. I do
3 live. Okay,
yeah,
great.
so
Excellent.
basically what happens is I do 2 groups of 15 every single month with
Wow.
homework assignments.
Good for you.
And then they come with a workbook like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
That way there's the actual ChatGPT prompts and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of oversimplifying things, because if it's simple, people will actually do it.
Alan, thank you. I appreciate your time here. We will put the link to your crash course in our podcast notes. And is there anything else that so you're a beer connoisseur, or it seems
I wish I wasn't. I love craft beer. It's my favorite thing.
Okay, it's your favorite thing. So, what are some of your favorites here in Chicagoland?
There's too many to count.
Okay.
I mean, Chicago is just such a powerhouse when
Okay.
it comes to breweries. I mean, you've got Phase 3, which is my personal favorite.
Okay.
You've got Saint Laurent. You've got Hop Butcher, you've got Half Acre, you've got Moore, you've got Maplewood, you've got Old Irving. You've got so many world-class breweries that are right over here, to the point where it gets pretty expensive this time of year because you got all the limited release big bourbon barrel-aged stouts, and those are my personal favorites.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay, good. Well, we'll have to talk about that. Well, Alan, I just want to say thanks a lot. I want to say bravo to you. You're impressive. You're living proof that you begin from really kind of novice amateur and develop yourself into professional through hard work, mentors, a dedication to personal improvement, and just overcoming your fears. And that's something noteworthy for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you having me on. If there's anybody who wants to connect, my digital business card, just go to thisisalanstern.com. ALANSTERN is the correct way to spell my name. Social media handles are on there. 3-day crash course, free ebook, all of that's on there. So other than that,
thank you.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Take care. Hey, thanks for listening to the People Not Titles podcast. We are proudly sponsored by Land Trust Title Services. If you enjoyed the podcast, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and we'd love it if you'd share our podcast with your friends. Thanks a lot.